Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this session with us today. My name is Roderick Randolph, and I'm a distinguished engineer at Capital One.
And I'm Arthur Maltson. I'm also a distinguished engineer here at Capital One.
We're super excited today to tell you a story of how an internally built CI/CD pipeline framework grew to become a major Innersource product at Capital One. We'll share with you the lessons we learned that shaped our journey, and it can help your organization harness the power of Innersource inside your company's walls. We'll start at the beginning. Many years ago, Capital One followed a waterfall approach to software delivery. We had a lot of monolithic applications, and they all ran in our own data centers. It was a painful process to release software into production, and the deployment steps themselves were very manual and error-prone. It literally took months to get a release out the door. If we fast forward to today, we operate a lot differently. We have agile teams following continuous delivery practices. We're all in the cloud, which enables our business to be more nimble. And more importantly, we've automated our deployment processes so that they are safer, predictable, and more frequent. But how exactly did we get to where we are today? Our digital transformation didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of hard work and effort from everyone. The CI/CD pipeline framework we built was an important part of that journey. If we hop into a time machine and go back to 2015, Capital One had publicly announced at Amazon's reInvent Developer Conference that we were moving to the public cloud. And while our digital transformation was already underway at that time, the public cloud announcement was a big moment for our company. And software engineers, including myself, were super excited about where we were headed. Around that same time frame in 2015, across the Great Lakes in Canada, in a relatively small office near downtown Toronto, Capital One was standing up a brand new technology organization, or what we call a software studio. And this studio was going to transform the way the Capital One Canada business operates. The new studio in Canada had a startup feel to it, and we were going to do all the transformational goals our tech leaders had inspired us to do. We were going to automate all of the things. And so on a more personal note, I saw the new studio as an exciting new opportunity and challenge. So I packed my bags and I moved from Virginia to Toronto to join the team and be a part of the exciting journey. But as we got started on our first few business initiatives in Canada, our developers quickly ran into a few roadblocks as we worked. We had hired a lot of new developers. They literally needed to learn all of the things. They needed to learn how to build and migrate applications into the public cloud for a bank. They needed to learn DevOps principles and practices. They needed to learn how to run containerized workload. They needed to learn how to use open source software safely and securely, and how to automate manual processes. Each one of these on their own is a challenge, but tackling them all at once is very hard for the average developer. And oh, did I mention that we're also a heavily regulated bank across 3 countries? That means there are many compliance requirements we need to go through for everything that we do. We soon realized that getting from point A to B, which in our case was getting an application deployed into production with automation, was going to be filled with twists and turns, and our developer productivity would suffer unless we develop a solution that made their jobs easier. So with that startup mentality I just mentioned, we decided to build a CI/CD pipeline framework that worked for the Canada business, and we use open source software. We thought about the entire developer experience and how we could reimagine our software release process to make developers' lives easier. We also made all of our new framework source code available inside of our company's walls so that other developers in the office could see the code and could contribute features as well. This was an exciting and fun time. I recall a moment where a software engineer who I won't name, but they happened to be a co-speaker of this talk, they committed a bunch of new code changes to add a brand new feature to the framework. And immediately after the code change, we had developers running over to our desk complaining that their build pipelines were failing. Now, it turned out to be a simple syntax error, and we were able to quickly fix it. But this was an example of how quickly we were developing the framework and working directly with developers to gather their requirements and pain points. Developers were our customers. It wasn't long after we built our first MVP that our Canada business launched its first microservice API on the public cloud with a fully automated pipeline. This was a huge milestone and accomplishment for the team. We knew it was a great start for the business with many more automated deployments to come. And to give our framework a brand, we gave the framework a name. And for this talk, we're going to call the framework Bingo. We designed a cute little mascot for Bingo because what developer doesn't love mascots, stickers, and free swag? The news about Bingo quickly began to spread across other parts of the company. Developers started talking to one another about how they enjoy the developer experience and how it solved the problem that they were facing. We knew word was spreading because we had a dedicated Slack channel for Bingo, and a key indicator we used for adoption was how many people had joined the channel. We would celebrate every milestone, from 25 new members to 50 new members to 100 to 150. We were just seeing natural and organic growth, which was exciting. But we didn't know what was coming next. So as the framework continued to grow and take on new users and new use cases, I decided to pack my bags and actually move back to the US. But throughout this transition, we started to see a huge growth in Bingo. We saw hundreds of developers starting to adopt and use the framework. Bingo was reducing the amount of time it took teams to release software,